Previously on Offhand Disney. If I were to design my own original Disney park, you can bet your bottom dollar that it would blow Tokyo Disney out of the water. But unfortunately hold on, wait a second. Everyone's always saying that they can make a better theme park than Disney. Well, I think I can actually do it. I think I can make the best Disney park in the entire world, and it wouldn't even be close. And I'm going to show you how I can build that park right now. Right now. This is the video. Since the dawn of recorded history, mankind has strived to create the perfect Disney park. And on a hot day in 1955, one man came impossibly close.
That's it, right here. Disneyland. Seen from about 2,000 feet in the air and 10 months away. I want to tell you about it because later on in the show you'll find that Disneyland the place and Disneyland the TV show are all part of the same. Now, on a site of 240 acres near the city of Anaheim in Southern California, right about in here, we've begun to build Disneyland the place. We hope that it will be unlike anything else on this earth. A fair, amusement park, an exhibition, a city from the Arabian Nights, metropolis from the future. In fact, a place of hopes and dreams, facts and fancy, all in one.
All right, did you catch all that? Were you taking notes? I was taking notes. This is Walt's ideal Disney park, and this is what we're going to try to recreate today. Our perfect Disney park has to be unlike anything else. It has to be a fair, an amusement park, an exhibition, a city from the Arabian Nights, whatever that means, a metropolis from the future, and a place of hopes and dreams and facts and fancy all in one. When it comes to places like Walt Disney World, you know it's very similar in design and construction to Disneyland in Anaheim, but it offers things that Disneyland does not, and vice versa. And the same thing goes for all the other parks like Shanghai and Tokyo. So in this video, for the ease of showing you guys what I want to do easily, I'm going to be using the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World as a template, while using Walt's original ideal for Disneyland as an inspiration for what kind of rides, attractions, and experiences we're going to put in the park. And what better place to start designing our perfect park than with the castle at the end of Main Street, USA, the icon of the park. When Herb Ryman finished designing Sleeping Beauty Castle for Disneyland, Walt needed to decide on a name. Walt decided to turn to an upcoming intellectual property that was going to be released in the coming years. Sleeping Beauty wouldn't be released for another 4 years, but Walt decided to name the castle after the movie in order to drum up some excitement for the upcoming release. When the time came to name the castle at the Magic Kingdom, Imagineers decided to name it after another classic Disney princess. That princess being Cinderella, of course. Since then, the newer castles in the foreign parks have been just your other takes on Sleeping Beauty's castle or your generic storybook magical fantasy castle, with names fitting that theme perfectly. So when deciding on a name and theme for Offhand Disneyland's castle, I figured why not go back to another Walt Disney classic? Why not go back to the first Walt Disney classic? And with that, the idea for Snow White's Enchanted Castle was born, or just Snow White Castle. And ideally, it would look like the castle from the film, white with red accents, which honestly fits Snow White pretty perfectly. So I recolored Hong Kong's Castle of Magical Dreams just to give us a rough idea of what it would look like. Obviously, not all of this is going to be perfect, I'm no graphic designer, so I went ahead and added Snow White Castle to Offhand Disneyland as the icon of the park. Again, not a graphic designer, have mercy. I also replaced Cinderella's Royal Table and the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique with a dragon encounter similar to Disneyland Paris and a Snow White castle walkthrough similar to Disneyland in a way. I'm picturing something similar to Snow White's Scary Adventures at Disneyland, but more of a walkthrough so you can take your time and admire the sets and the characters. And that's also something you can't really find anywhere else in the world when it comes to an attraction, a walkthrough Snow White dark ride. Plus, I'm a giant sucker for walkthrough attractions. Next, we're going to take a step back and head backwards to Main Street, USA, where you first enter the park. And for the most part, I'm going to be keeping what Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom and all the other Disney parks around the world use as their Main Street because it just works so well. Everything is more or less the same until you come to Center Street. Center Street being the road that intersects Main Street about halfway down. And it is here you are going to find a smaller version of Edison Square, the canceled concept for Disneyland. It is here that you will find a Mr. Lincoln-esque show called Harnessing the Lightning, featuring Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison doing their thing. This show will teach guests how the harnessing of electricity went from a cool science experiment to everyday life, flipping a light switch on and off. Going to the hub and heading left, you may have noticed something very near and dear to my heart that I have transplanted from Disneyland to offhand Disneyland. In my humble opinion, New Orleans Square is the most well-themed, most immersive, and most entertaining land Disney has ever built in any of their theme parks ever. I know that's a bold claim. The food, the shopping, the food, the rides, and of course the food all really help tie this land together. And it's the home, of course, to my favorite ride of all time and one of my favorite rides of all time, the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. Speaking of the Haunted Mansion, this version of the Haunted Mansion will be both familiar and new at the same time, with the walk-through changing portrait hallway like at Disneyland as opposed to the one you ride through at the Magic Kingdom, with a brand new cinematic soundtrack similar to the one found in Phantom Manor at Paris, with newer projection effects like those found in Mystic Manor at Hong Kong used in rooms like Madame Leota's room or the graveyard scene. Just a little something to give the Haunted Mansion just a bit of new life, even though everyone who lives there is dead. And in order to set it apart, we'll have the outside of the mansion based off of the fancy New Orleans wedding cake house built in 1896. Just add a pet cemetery out front and some funny gravestones calling back to some Imagineers who worked on the ride, and there you have it, Haunted Mansion. On to Pirates of the Caribbean. The ride itself is an exact clone of Disneyland's. I mean, you can't really make it any better. It's already perfect. And of course, in this new New Orleans Square, Pirates of the Caribbean will go where the Hall of Presidents is, roughly. Not much else to say. Otherwise, in Liberty Square, you can also find boarding for the Sam Clemens riverboat, yeah, you like that? And you can also find a bunch of different New Orleans food like mint juleps and beignets and gumbo and fritters and all of the other delicious food that is offered at New Orleans Square. Now, leaving New Orleans Square, we head into what I think is one of the most ambitious lands in offhand Disneyland, Adventureland. Now, if you've seen my previous video, you know that I have an obsession with the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. This group of globe-trotting explorers and adventurers started their story at Tokyo Disney Sea, and have since gone on to have their story told in every nook and cranny of every Disney park in the world, except for Shanghai, I'm pretty sure. Offhand Disneyland's Adventureland will focus almost entirely on the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. Replacing the magic carpets of Aladdin in the central plaza of Adventureland is what I like to call the Sea Adventure Port. A small pavilion themed to look like a jungle outpost, but when you went inside, it would be ornately decorated with treasures from all over the world, and it would be here where you can enlist in the sea adventure. If you've done the Pirates League at Walt Disney World, you kind of know what this is. It's an interactive scavenger hunt through different areas of the land where you can uncover super hidden treasures, and the environment will react to people playing the game. Let's say you receive a sea medal when you start your journey, and when you scan it on different objects or touch it to different things, magical things start happening, or treasure chests will open and give you a clue as to where to go next. And there will be multiple scavenger hunt paths you can follow, so it's not the same every single time. And if you complete your scavenger hunt, you are inducted officially into the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, but that is not where the experience ends, and this is where it differs from the Pirates League. Depending on which path you finished, your sea medallion that you picked up at the beginning of your scavenger hunt will have different effects on different show scenes in different rides all over Adventureland and New Orleans Square. Let's say you finish a scavenger hunt called the Spirits of the Jungle, then afterwards you go ride the Haunted Mansion with your sea medallion. Toward the end of the ride, you'll receive your very own exclusive Society of Explorers and Adventurers hitchhiking ghost, a ghost that is different and is not seen anywhere else in the parks except for in the Haunted Mansion if you have completed the scavenger hunt. Maybe it could be George Hightower, since his wife was Constance Hatchaway before she, and his brother Harrison Hightower is a notoriously evil member of the society. Or a scene in the Jungle Cruise where something could, explode or catch on fire. You know what I'm saying. Something fun like that, an interactive element to all the rides in the Adventureland and New Orleans Square area. And yes, offhand Disneyland will have a Jungle Cruise ride, but now let's talk about other rides. We've talked about the sea experience, let's talk about the Indiana Jones experience. Taking the place of where Pirates of the Caribbean would be in Adventureland would be Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Skies. Why Temple of the Skies, you ask? It's because the ride will be be a combination dark ride like the Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland, and a suspended roller coaster, similar to the canceled Dragon roller coaster that was going to be at Disney's Animal Kingdom at Beastly Kingdom. It's got the same kind of feel as the Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland, but it's a lot faster and it's a lot more thrilling. And of course, there will be interactive elements activated by your Society of Explorers and Adventurers medallion because Indiana Jones was a member. Like I said, classic attractions like the Jungle Cruise and Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room will remain, but a familiar e-ticket attraction from Hong Kong Disneyland will sit near Indiana Jones. Of course, I'm talking about Mystic Manor, one of the most popular rides at Hong Kong and one many people want to ride, including myself. It will of course be a trackless dark ride and will have the most interactions with the Sea Medallion, more than any other ride. And I'm going to say that this version is going to remain relatively unchanged from the Hong Kong version, aside from all the characters speaking English and a few references here and there to the Haunted Mansion and to the Society, because, you know, Mystic Manor was inspired by both. The most important addition to the land, though, is a replica of Disneyland's Tropical Hideaway with every flavor of Dole Whip you could possibly imagine. That's the most important thing. Moving on to Frontierland, I'm keeping it mostly the same as what you find in Walt Disney World. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad will have a tie-in with the Sea Adventure. Splash Mountain, Country Bear Jamboree, all of those are wonderful and can stay, but I do add one new e-ticket attraction, and that is the Western River Expedition. This ride was planned as a replacement for Pirates of the Caribbean for Florida because Walt Disney Imagineering assumed that everyone in Florida was already familiar with the Caribbean and the lore of pirates. But the idea was shelved and instead they built an inferior Pirates of the Caribbean in Adventureland instead. My proposed Western River Expedition is going to be a lot smaller than the original idea, more of its own self-contained large ride like Splash Mountain or Big Thunder Mountain. But it will keep the original Western River boat ride that Wed was Imagineering all those years ago for Walt Disney World. And of course, the Western River Expedition will have hints pointing towards sea. That's the running theme in my park, it seems. But other than that, here's the full list of what you're going to find in the land, and yes, the Western River Expedition will offer Fast Pass. When you enter Fantasyland, we really start to see Walt Disney's idea of a fair and a place of hopes and dreams,
Facts and fancy, all in one,
begins to take form. As you can see from this small row of attractions and restaurants I'm adding or replacing in Fantasyland, I'm really doubling down on the dark ride aspect. Also, did you guys know the ride description for Prince Charming's Regal Carousel at the Magic Kingdom is just ride this classic attraction? Like, yeah, what else? So for my park, I'm changing the name to Snow White's Fancy Carousel, but I'm keeping the description because it's perfect. I've gone ahead and replaced the Seven Dwarves Mine Train with a new incarnation of the Matterhorn with a less painful track, and the Alice in Wonderland Dark Ride from Disneyland transported to the base of the Matterhorn. Replacing Mickey's PhilharMagic at the Magic Kingdom is Rapunzel's Lantern Festival boat ride thing at Offhand Disneyland, rough idea of which you can see here replicated by Barrow in Planet Coaster, link in the description if you're interested. This ride would be a boat ride similar to Pirates of the Caribbean or It's a Small World, taking you through scenes of the movie Tangled, featuring the all-new updated animatronics you can see coming to rides in Tokyo Disneyland like the Beauty and the Beast ride. Speaking of which, Offhand Disneyland will have a Beauty and the Beast dark ride also, that offers Fast Pass apparently. Classics like Peter Pan's Flight, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, and of course the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh will be returning. A brand new attraction is called Storybook Land Forest, a walk-through version of Storybook Land canal boats at Disneyland, bringing you through scenes of all of your favorite classic Disney movies, and some newer ones that are also in there. And you guys already know about the Dragon Encounter and the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough that are other major attractions in the land. And of course you'll have your stop for the Offhand Disneyland Railroad, which will take you through a tunnel in between every stop and will feature a diorama similar to Disneyland about the land that you're going to. So before Fantasyland you'll have a fantasy diorama, before Frontierland you'll have a Wild West diorama, you get the picture. Obviously I don't really have a budget in mind when making this park because this is obviously going to be the most expensive Disney park, but it's okay, it's all my imagination. Moving further down in the park, we come to a land that has been the bane of everyone's existence since the beginning of time. Offhand Disneyland's Tomorrowland will be very closely based on Shanghai's Tomorrowland. But there's a catch. You'll notice when walking through Shanghai's Tomorrowland, there's lots of concrete and glass, and this is going to be the case in Offhand Disneyland. The glass and concrete will serve as a very modern, yet also sort of retro-futury look for Tomorrowland. But with the basic look of the land, you'll be able to update it as the years go on with special update points, I've decided on calling them. Basically what I'm saying is Tomorrowland opens with a skeleton of what the theming could be, and people can add or subtract theming as the years go on to keep it futuristic. You don't have to tear down an entire Innoventions building or stop using an entire PeopleMover track, which, by the way, exists and is fully functional at Offhand Disneyland. And with this simplified way of updating the land, you'll never have to level anything like you have to do now at Disneyland. The added bonus of Tomorrowland staying not only futuristic but also nostalgic because the land itself, layout-wise, won't change too much throughout the years. And being the perfect Tomorrowland, there is not a Star Wars ride to be found. Instead, when you first enter the land, we will have two brand new takes on classic attractions that are both now long gone. One, entitled New Horizons, I know it's a little on the nose, will be a Horizons for the 21st century featuring new animatronics, special effects, and new ride vehicles. And this is not a copy-paste of the original Horizons. There will be new show scenes. I'm not sure what they would be, but I'm imagining something in the far, far future for the end of the show. The second ride would be called Journey Through Inner Space, a reimagining of Adventure Through Inner Space from Disneyland, a classic Disney dark ride. Except this time you'll be going smaller than an atom into a quark and something even smaller if they have that. Again, just like New Horizons, it will feature new updated ride scenes, but the ride vehicles, the Omnimover system, I think should stay the same. And I know I say the Autopia takes up a lot of land and it really could be used for something better, but that's when it comes to Disneyland. When it comes to Offhand Disneyland, we're going to make the room and we're going to improve the Autopia. This time the ride will be sponsored by Tesla and will incorporate very simple versions of its self-driving technology. That way there will be no metal strip running down the middle of the road and you will never have to worry about anybody bumping into you because the cars won't allow it. But of course even that will be outdated in probably 10 years or so the entire track will be enclosed inside, so that way when the day comes that the Autopia is outdated you can rip it out or keep the track intact and make your very own indoor trackless dark ride or roller coaster or whatever the kids are into these days. That way we can keep the vision of an evergreen Tomorrowland while also keeping the Autopia around for the foreseeable future. A Tomorrowland these days is not complete without a Tron roller coaster, and we will have that alongside Space Mountain. The last ride we're going to talk about today at Offhand Disneyland is Space Station Earth, a smaller and, this is important, non-touchscreen compatible version of Spaceship Earth found at Epcot. This ride was originally planned for the second gate at Disneyland called Westcott, but we all know what happened to that. This will be a more condensed version of Spaceship Earth since it is smaller and will take you through giant milestones in humanity's history. And again, I'm sorry I've been saying this a lot, it will be updated with new effects to make the show and the lesson more impactful. And I hope this new version of Tomorrowland will not only entertain but also educate, because that was one of Walt's original mission goals for the land. It's fun, but there's also something you can take away at the end of the day that's not a souvenir. And that, everyone, is all of Offhand Disneyland Park, the Disney park of my imagination, and what I imagine to be the perfect one. Perfection, of course, is subjective though, so here comes the part I've been waiting for the entire video. What is your perfect Disney park? Is it an exact copy of what Disneyland was in 1955 on opening day? Or is one of the Disney parks that exists today, in your opinion, perfect? Let me know in the comments below or on Twitter. I'm at Offhand Disney, and artistic representations are always welcome. Lord knows I tried with mine and failed spectacularly. I've included a link in the description down below if you want to view my map of Offhand Disneyland in its entirety, including restaurants and other things I may not have mentioned in this video, because we're running a little long. And that, everyone, is my ideal Disneyland, keeping hopefully in mind the tenets that Walt had when he made Disneyland. And who knows, Disney, all of these ideas are free for you to use. They're on me. You can do whatever you want with any of the ideas presented to you today. You don't even have to give me credit. Maybe a little credit. But here's hoping that one day one of the existing parks or a brand new Disney park will open and will be the ideal one for people all over the world. And although perfection is subjective and differs from person to person, we can all come together and agree that it absolutely needs to have a people mover. Well, you've done it. You've reached the end of the 3-part Perfect Disney Park series I've been working on. What did you guys think? The names you see scrolling by right now are the Patreon supporters I have from patreon.com. A big, massive thank you to each and every single one of them. They really help the channel continue to grow and thrive. I wouldn't be able to do it without them, so thank you. And if you're new here or if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really does help out the video more than you could possibly know, or hit that subscribe button if you want more videos like this in the future. It's been a pretty busy month for me, all things considered, but I do have a very fun special live stream video coming in December, and also a Christmas special that I've been working on for a little while, so stay tuned for that. And that's gonna have to wrap it up for today. As always, everybody, thank you all so much for watching the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.